Hello, welcome back to the Football Terrace. This is Route 1 Football. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been back at Man United 18 months, and a big question that continues to follow him around from the United fan base is, what is his playing style? Is there patterns to play, or is this just freestyle? Does he just allow his players to go out there and express themselves in any which way they want? Does it mean when United is successful, it's on the players' brilliance as opposed to a system that he has created? We're going to explore that and explain to you exactly how Ole sets his teams up. So we'll see here some footage from Man United's recent game against Sheffield United. And there's something I want you to focus on straight away, is the shape of the individuals in front of us. I'm going to mark the Man United players here. And you can see there's 4 players in a row. You actually do have Mason Greenwood down here on the wide right as well. This shape is a pattern that you will see continuously with Manchester United. What you see often as well is Bruno Fernandes, or whoever is playing in the more advanced number 10 role, always taking up a position very close to the central striker and with a wide play out from there. There's always a lovely little triangle that's created, and you will see this pattern on many, many occasions. You'll see this ball then lovely whipped in from Paul Pogba into Bruno. Bruno, of course, the back heel is brilliant. But there's also options here. You've got Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's out wide on the right-hand side. Focus on where Mason Greenwood, though, is on the bottom of the screen. This is why I'm coining the phrase fluid football for what Ole wants to do. It's the fluidity and interchangeability of players in positions. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is currently in Mason Greenwood's position and vice versa. That fluidity is key. But for that to work, you need players with the ability to be versatile, which means they need to be very technically gifted. We'll forward the play a little more. Ball goes into Martial from the back heel from Bruno. Ball's then played in again here to Rashford. Now, what's really important, let's wind that back a second here. Where we need to focus is on the fact that Martial is going to pass the ball to Rashford and then make a run into this area on the field, which is, some people may look at and say, well, that's just normal, that's fine. Also look for Luke Shaw bombing down this side of the pitch as well. These decoy runs are absolutely imperative for Ole's fluid football. You need to be dragging opponents out of position. And how you do that is by having 1, 2, 3, 4 players at all times making great runs and having great movement, making it difficult to stifle your attack. And if we thought as the ball gets to Rashford, by the time you can then see Bruno is then pulling himself out onto the edge of the box. Martial is making the run we mentioned, and Luke Shaw is coming in from that wide left position. The ball thread through, of course, from Rashford, and the rest we know is history. But if we go back to that starting position that I mentioned, and we'll wind it all the way back to here, you'll see this shape is key. The number 10, the guy in Bruno's position, will always be fairly close to that of the striker. If the striker does drop into a more sort of number 10 position in between the lines, you will see Bruno occupy the striker's position. That is the fundamental and basic shape of the fluid football. How it then comes to fruition is the movement and interchangeability we mentioned. Where Solskjaer had been let down for the majority of the season was with the quality of personnel that he had available. And to bring that to life, we'll look at Andreas Pereira, who has played in Bruno and Paul Pogba's positions this season. When we start to break down the passing statistics, it is a clear gulf in class between Pogba, Bruno, and of course Andreas Pereira. Passes into the final third averages at 6.25 per game for Andreas Pereira, where Paul Pogba and Bruno make 13 and 9 passes into the final third respectively. When we look at passes into the penalty area, Andreas Pereira only attempts 3 per game, where Paul Pogba is at 4.5 and Bruno Fernandes is at 5.5. And when you look at the positivity of the aforementioned Bruno and Pogba, Andreas Pereira will only make on average 11 forward passes in a game. Paul Pogba 20 and Bruno Fernandes 15. As you can already see, the ability to pass forward in greater numbers and with better accuracy and into the penalty box is vastly improved with Pogba and Bruno as compared to that of Andreas Pereira. That in itself then creates another statistic. 27 games Andreas Pereira has played in the Premier League this season if you add all these minutes together. And he averages just 1.2 chances created per game. You compare that to Paul Pogba at 2.2 and Bruno Fernandes at 2.8. It brings to life the sheer problems that Oli had in getting his fluid football system to work and produce results. So we're going to look here at Anthony Martial's second goal against Sheffield United. And I want you to see, if you do before me, the United shape, the United pattern for fluid football to emerge. So I freeze frame this here, and you can see Man United again in a fairly similar shape to what we saw before. Now the triangle between these three is wider, and that will happen. And I think that's something that we need to be very, very mindful of as football fans, that we're not necessarily going to see the play look identical and the shape be a mirror image each time, but there will be a shape, and this is also key. Bruno here feints a shot, and that's always important to remember. Feints a shot, look at the guy in front of him fall down. That's now where the space is being created. That comes through having quality as a footballer. That comes through being potent and people being scared of his shooting ability. He, of course, feeds the pass to Paul Pogba. But look here already. There's two things I want you to go back and notice. Anthony Martial makes a run off the shoulder of his defender because he doesn't know at this point whether Bruno's going to try and feed the ball to him, or whether he's going to pass to Paul Pogba, or whether he's going to have a shot himself. That is another key ingredient of fluid football, the fact that there are 2 or 3 options in each play. The ball, as we know, is played out to Paul Pogba, but then look at Bruno. Bruno then goes off on a run. He doesn't stand still. Go back and watch footage of Andreas Pereira, Juan Mata at times, and especially Jesse Lingard. They make this pass and then they stand still. They stop the movement. Now, Paul Pogba here has the ability, and he plays the ball out to the right-hand side to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That is also another key component to Manchester United's fluid football, is the fullbacks getting involved. Now, I don't believe Man United are going to operate with a 2-up approach. It would, generally speaking, be 1 up, 1 back. However, when you dominate a game as we did against Sheffield United, you will force your opponents back into these positions, meaning your fullbacks can be more readily involved. This is also helped by the inclusion of Nemanja Matic, who will often drop back and almost become a third centre-back when our fullbacks push forward. Again, versatility in Oli's fluid football system. What you'll also notice is the sheer number of players in the Sheffield United box, and this cannot be discounted. Man United need more numbers. We need to be having players in the half spaces and causing confusion. You will start to see this on a more regular basis now that we have players such as Mason Greenwood and Bruno playing, who are far more comfortable. You also still have major options here. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, as we know, will go on the outside himself and get the cross in. But Paul Pogba is available here for a pass if required. Paul Pogba's inclusion, and this is meant with no disrespect to the Pereiras and Lingards of this world, then means one thing. Paul Pogba then occupies these 2 midfield players, meaning you have a greater amount of space between the defender trying to win the ball back from Aaron Wan-Bissaka and then the remaining defensive players are trying to mark and stifle our attackers. Paul Pogba's presence alone creates the space and the opening for Aaron Wan-Bissaka to cross the ball into. So here we have another great piece of play from Manchester United, and we see the shape again. You've got Bruno not far from his striker, and now you've got Pogba that's moved up into this triangular position. To Pogba's left, or to our right as we're viewing, you've got Mason Greenwood, who is making up the right-hand side of that shape. And then to the left off camera, you have Martial that has switched positions with Rashford for a few moments, making up the left-hand side of the attack. So again, we see the positional sense and the shape created under Oli's fluid football system. And then this is where the brilliance comes in. The pass is played forward there from Matic. Now, the reason this opening even happens is Bruno Fernandes' back heel. Bruno Fernandes sucks in 2 players, you can see there. Has 2 players now with this brilliant back flick taken out of the game. They're finished. You now have the hole. This area here is now being opened up on the field of play because of Bruno Fernandes' touch. Now what's going to happen? Marcus is going to get this ball. He's going to play it back here to Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba is then going to knock the ball over the top into this area here. But the focal point here is the fact that the fluidity. Bruno Fernandes in that shape. And we can still, by the way, at this point, we can still see the Man United fluid system shape. Martial, as I mentioned, out on the left. You have Greenwood here on the right. You also have support from the fullback in this position here. Pogba in a more advanced role. Rashford, Bruno. And what you'll find with the fluidity of this, because Paul Pogba has left his central midfield area, Martial has stepped up. Sorry, Matic has stepped up. And then you have Luke Shaw that is also covered in a central area. There you'll see the pass into Pogba, the knock over the top. And Rashford should be finishing this. There's no doubt about it. He should be hitting that ball on target and he misses his shot. You know, he'll get bantered for that, absolutely. But the fluidity is there. And if you focus on one other area that we already mentioned, it's the additional runners. There you see him also in the box with Marcus Rashford is Mason Greenwood. So ladies and gentlemen, that is Ollie's style of play when it comes to his attack. There are clear patterns, there are clear shapes, there's fluidity in the movement, and it's something that is starting to pay dividends. Yes, it's taken a number of months for Ollie to nail this down and to drum this into his players. But the biggest hindrance was never his coaching ability, his man management, or his style. It was simply having the right quality of players. And if we focus on that last clip, the back heel from Bruno, the dink pass over the top from Paul Pogba, can you honestly imagine Lingard or Pereira, Scott McTominay even, playing those passes and making those touches happen? For me, not in a month of Sundays. Do me a big favor, hit the like button, hit the share button, push this out there. Ollie's fluid football is real and it's here to stay. Take care, goodbye, God bless, and we'll see you all soon.